Dave, Lisa, and Ned for getting us started. Now with our first featured poet, Michael Brown. He studies at Bard at Brooklyn Public Library. He has received fellowships from Brooklyn Poets and Poetry at the Sea, and his poems have appeared in numerous magazines. Lisa, you'll like to hear this. They've been in the Beloit Poetry Journal. You did it. You did it. Also American Chordata and Baltimore's very own Hopkins Review. Michael currently works at the Schomburg Center's Manuscript and Rare Books Division in Harlem, and he comes to us today all the way from the Bronx. Michael Brown.
Hello. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to be reading is called On My Uncle's African Sculptures. Even now, light might visit as it used to, in increments, revealing what it used to. The slant of sunlight streaked with what we're used to, the whiff of weed coated like a dream in all the fabric in my uncle's room. The dust mote swimming in the too clear seam of sunlight and his sculptures, as in a Renaissance tomb, filling the room the way children fill a womb. Even now, though I don't visit like I used to, I see the broad array of wood he hewed to shapes that are not that far from what we're used to. Exaggerations of the steam of flesh that we are glued to. Distortions or extrapolations of those blocks of wood which he would chip at, until they were hued to distinction. Something that the streaming sunlight mocks. Even now, a little over 10 years gone, when we hadn't gathered in an urn, when we gathered in a church to mourn, the light won't visit like it used to, on his sculptures or our bodies, now so gone from what they both were predicated on. Distinction. Now, unlike my uncle's urn, displaying time's turns on our two rippling flesh, reminding us, like sunlit sculptures, of our deaths. Now things ain't like they was before. Me making shit that came before I was born just to reach the core of where we came from, and what all this shit was for. Hoping my uncle's things might prove a cipher, or a door out of our deaths, out of this endless war to find a form that death and light can't gore, just so my people can maintain and more. This next one is... Thank you. This next one is called That Night. Richard Wright to Clinton Brewer. The epigraph goes, Wright was wrong, however. After working with the Count Basie Orchestra for 3 months, Brewer killed another young woman who too refused his romantic advances. Brewer was quickly arrested and scheduled for execution as soon as possible. Gabriel Mendez, Underground Extension of Democracy. Dear Clint, all night I've been awake just thinking and listening to your records on repeat, specifically Stampede. It's like a clinking of bars continually on repeat, reminding me of what I failed to see. I mean, that maybe what had saved me was not perseverance to my people's beauty, but blindness in my heart and mind, because I wanted them, especially them, to know that we are only ugly because they say so. But Clint, that isn't true, I know. I know it from the Mississippi day when I refused to read their speech. I know it now tonight as I go where you go. Now and forever, Richard Wright. Thank you. This next one is called To Go Brown. There's also an epigraph, and the epigraph goes, It was the most horrendous sight I'd ever seen. My hands were wet, and there were tears in my eyes. All I could think of was that young black man dangling at the end of the rope. And the person who said this book was Henry Fonda. The history on you is spare. Your name holds fame only because of what they did to you that night. I know that you were lame, dramatic, came from Illinois, amid a million others seeking work, a new life. What life did you lead before you went out west? Were you the youngest child? Were you a father with a child? What that have meant? What can I say? The distance between us breaks my line of sight and renders me as blind as those who saw you. Not as a man fear breaks, but as a symbol for that violence. Blind, hoping perhaps to sublimate through your face, white as theirs in fear, the darkness of your last night. And this next poem is called Lucifer Regards Adam and Eve from the Shell of the Universe. Watching them from where you stoop above their robe, and that ancient fame of total dark, how could you not regard their joys as just another block he wrought in what was once absence, a vastness curled from underneath what once would be, now hot and cloven hooves that, now, if they stepped there, would rock the ground they walk on, innocence unfurled. But then you turn your eyes up to the still of shadows in the distance, thoughts becoming real, perhaps, as atoms manifest the miracles you performed in what seems a shadowed still, when angels dented darkness, forcing it to peel, to give way to their spastic burning forms of wheels, cycling through a vastness cold and real. And you among those burning figures froze in flight, you stilled and burning, quaking, turning white, as flares fell from you like fall from the sun. Those flares flew in the distance as they're coming from a gun, and settled in the emptiness, becoming light. This next poem is called Thank you. This next poem is called Brutus Becomes a God. The Brutus in this is the Brutus who killed Julius Caesar. I guess like something short to just say is that there's a story that after he killed Caesar, he was he got involved in it started the Civil War, and he was on the run, and he was in Crete, and he was defeated in battle by, I believe it was Arcadius. Anyway, when he was defeated, he realized that okay, this is it, and then he killed himself. So this poem is based off of that. Surrounded by invisible enemies, lights of Rome, and the torches of his enemies. Lights billowing in the distance like the icy fires of Cometales and Roman skies. He tires. He falls and huddles in the hollow of a rock and looks into the studded sky. He asks Zeus to not forget who brought him here to this rock. Stars flash, but hold, in the sky's wide net, like masks loose on the many faces of a single god. Portents, perhaps, of emperors to come. Like Caesar struggling, drowning in his blood, pierced by the many hands that become one, Brutus looks to his soldiers' faces, tired, dumb, and feels the agony of one becoming none, the failure of the god he could have once become. A usurped form of fears, but nonetheless as one. And when this meditation's done, is granted to a god, then Brutus, like a god, flies towards the swords he cannot overcome. This next one is called The Elephant. This next one is called The Elephants. When I consider all the evidence that elephants can suffer from their memories, that they are able to recall the tense, taut wires of cages, even when they're free of these, and I remember reading that they are the last of the Proboscidean order, and I wonder if, like people, they recall those past shadows of themselves. Thus the present stand. So many nights I worried that a friend of mine would kill herself, but she's alive. And last night, you told me about a friend of yours who killed himself, but you're alive. So we remain in an armored age, like elephants, remembering the cage. Thank you. This next one is called On Resurrection Island. The violence there is more than palpable. The whaling bases rusted down or dull with age. Their flensing platforms, boilers, and whale oil storage tanks are like the land, a catalog where we've had a hand in manufacturing death and turning kill to color. Is this the way we leave humanity behind? We practice death efficiently so that we may attain ascendancy to higher causes. Profit, only a small fee paid to those shepherds who treat sheep as wolves. They are the vessels of that higher purpose. We would deny those lives that of which they are capable until a Noahic Carolina flood delivers bodies bulbous. On the moon of Europa is our enemy. There, penitentes cluster indistinct, their bodies crowding toward the sun's cold bend like us in ships, our bodies indistinct, like figures in a ledger or numbers on a screen, things that I'd seen and tried to measure to Dachau and Angola, Belsen and Damascus, to other places where the dead forever ask us for passage out of calculations that mask us. Lives given to statistics, figures I would render taskless. Now, at work, I bend my face to a screen, consult charts like entrails, for a scene that bring figures there, and colloquy with names, away from time's sophistic certainty. This next one is called One Metawork for His Talking Skull. So it's based off a sculpture of this African folktale where there's this man kneeling from the skull that's supposed to be talking. And the skull says, and so he asks the skull, what brought you here? And the skull responds, my tongue. It turns into a moral lesson. But this is the poem. Like Job, he kneels, hands placed before him on the ground, the length of earth from which his skull peers, like a mound up at him, grinning, as a poignancy resounds from their expression, which my eyes but space surrounds. In this space, history is rendered as a chain where he is held like me, to circle his own pain in the skull's frame, by asking what he cannot know, caught in the curve of words that hold, that will not grow from his lips, sculpted out of bronze, mine out of stone. Now stone cries out to stone, and blood cries out to bone. But in the onyx of a photograph, we find two black forms speaking these masterful designed bronze frames. In this space, history is rendered lame, and I can answer by this craft how these forms came. And this last poem is called Passage. So I was walking through the garden section at work, and it was raining really hard. Barry chirping coming through the rain. I looked up to see birds flitting like kids running through the store among the rafters. So I stopped. The sounds those birds made to each other was like laughter, flitting from each rafter. And it made me think about the trip I took to Connecticut, right by the Sound, the Long Island Sound, where I opened my screen door to see a rabbit crouched in the grass, pawing at its pink nose, and robins hopping, their bellies red and puffy as some drunks with beer guts bouncing with some coals in hell. They made me want to go and see the sea. I went and watched the tides whenever I felt like Odysseus at Erebus, the shades indifferent to him, until he offered up some blood. Blood made them break from drifting back and forth like waves he just departed from, to answer questions that he posed. And I swear that the silence over there was like that questioning of shades, and that the tides reminded me of spirits rolling from muteness out to beaches with a swimming pole. And speech was like the rocks the tides reveal, the waypoints between them and us, between my father and his grandma's ghost. But Robin, the old crackhead from by here, comes walking up like Caliban and crack and smiles at me hugs me, asks for a loose, and plots on how to beg my mom for change. The DVDs, red tufts of naps beneath his fitted headphones, carrying a fish's jar, saying someone already ate the head, and wishes me, my mom, and Robin too, a happy Ramadan, and to be safe. But when I tell a friend about the jar, he quotes Mojian on Africans and fakes. I think all that it is that he lacks the words to tell me that it's his first iftar, the first one in a new year for all. So when I finally got your text at noon about how you had celebrated Seri, and I just heard those birds in flossy mist like mimics for the waves that sat through silence with me, as I feared for my father's shade. The thought of all the silence that was there no longer makes me cry. My father follows the late night traffic all the way to all the kin his grandma left on Jersey Pines. And I, because you gave the words to me, you let me eat and fasted while he rose. Thank you.